Welcome to the Know. I'm Ashley.
I'm Mica.
So earlier this week, the Destiny community reacted fairly reasonably, actually, to news that Destiny 2 introduces mechanics that could be interpreted by some as pay to win. For the most part, the community response was, yeah, sure, but it doesn't affect the end game, so let's wait and see.
But then Bungie came after their fashion.
Oh, no, you didn't.
And now the gloves are off. The community is now totally up in arms over the recent discovery that cosmetic items that were limitless in Destiny 1, like all those chatterwites we got after every Vault of Glass raid, are all now limited use only. And it's because of, hold it,
What?
microtransactions.
Ooh, so now we've got players calling for a boycott on all microtransactions for the game until Bungie and Activision make things right.
And all of this commotion started yesterday when players finally got to dig into Destiny 2's mechanics for themselves, where they made a bit of a startling discovery that sounds like not that big of a deal on the surface, but turned out to really, and I mean really, piss players off.
Meanwhile, outside of the Destiny community, everyone's probably like, what? Why?
What's going on?
Right, but you get in the Destiny community, it matters.
Things are on fire.
Yeah, so there's good news and bad news to the fire. Apparently, shaders, that's the items you used in Destiny 1 to change the color of your armor to make your raid gear look mega fabulous, can now be applied to a single piece of armor. Meaning, if you wanted, you could throw some glow hue on your gauntlets, some dong collar on your helmet, etc. In Destiny 1, applying a shader went towards your entire set of gear.
It was pretty cool though.
Right, so in like one fell swoop, suddenly coordinated outfit. This way though, you can choose and mix and match and be a little bit more unique with your style.
Fashion forward. It doesn't sound so bad so far, right? Fashion forward, choosing what you want to do. But the catch is that these shaders can now only be used a single, count it, single time.
That's one.
That's uno. Whereas in Destiny 1, they were limitless. You kept the shader in your inventory, then toggled it on whenever you saw fit. You could glow and glow hue or turn into a Sprite can with that hideous green-yellow shader.
But the important thing is you get new equipment and you can apply that shader to your new equipment as well. So as you grind through and are just constantly upgrading your equipment in Destiny, it would go with you. You would still match. Now, you'd better be sure you want to stick with that equipment for a long time. So the way it works now is that you get these bundles of 5 shaders. It's enough to throw one on each piece of armor once and then gone forever, or at least until you get lucky enough to have it drop randomly with another set of loot.
However, there is one slightly more reliable way to get your hands on shaders.
What would that be? That sounds great.
You know, I'm gonna want, you guessed it, you can buy them.
Oh, right. That's because shaders are 100% part of the bright engrams you can purchase from the game's Eververse for real money. So if you want to stock up on your favorite color, you can run around praying for bright engrams that will have your favorite shaders, or skip the hassle and buy the engrams and hope the random contents inside includes them. Neither is a sure thing, but one's a sure thing with a lot of frustrating grinding, and the other is not a sure thing with a real money sink.
If you're new to Destiny, you might be wondering if this is even that big of a deal, whether or not players should care. After all, we're talking about items that are purely cosmetic, and that's typically how most microtransaction games are handled these days anyway, burying cosmetic loot behind a paywall so as not to affect gameplay, right?
Right, in a lot of other games, this would be the ideal scenario.
Right.
Not in Destiny.
God, no.
However, because it's a change taking away something that was in the previous game. The community, total uproar now. Last night, several of the top 10 topics on the game's subreddit included threads with titles that called the shader system horrendous. Another, it was titled, "Whoa, hold on, shaders are single use now?" That one had 8,000 upvotes. Another was titled, "Bungie, please revert shaders back to unlimited use rather than a one-time consumable." That one had 19,000 upvotes. And another one was called, "Do not spend a single cent on microtransactions until shaders become unlimited use again. Hashtag make fashion great again."
That last one had 40,000 upvotes.
That's a fire.
That's a fire, and nearly 3,000 comments, by the way. So yeah, players are a bit miffed about this development, thus the setting of these fires. In that thread, the OP wrote, "I recognize that we are one day into D2's lifespan, but this is one issue that doesn't need to be further understood. The fact of the matter is, shaders being one-time use is a deliberate decision to make an aspect of the game worse for the sake of profit."
And now OP and other commenters outline specific reasons why this is a problem, but the biggest of those is frequent consumable drops are not an improvement over rare rewards no matter how you slice it, especially when those same rewards used to be totally free without any kind of paywall gating.
One poster said, as somebody who likes to frequently change my shader based on my mood that day, I hate that I'd now lose the original shader. Completely prevents me from using shaders past my first set. I'm not going to invest any time into something cosmetic that I can only use once.
Another wrote, I bought a decent amount of silver in Destiny 1 because it was all extra BS. It was cool to have, but not an integral part of the game. If they keep with this shader thing, I won't be buying an ounce of silver. Fuck this stupid new shader system.
Guardians went on to outline that the result of this is probably going to be people hoarding shaders rather than using them for fear that if they use a shader, they'll immediately regret it once they find newer, better gear. Which, if you played Destiny 2 at all, that happens a lot. And I mean, I know from personal experience, my raid team and I liked to coordinate shaders, and we'd go in like, huzzah, the Chatterwhite team, but that's been taken from us.
Now, from the player's perspective, it seems to be the intention that if you do choose to use your shaders constantly, the only way to build up a stockpile of your favorite colors is going to be to grind for them or get desperate and buy them and try and win that RNG lottery.
FYI, the price of one bright engram, which might not even have the shader you want since it's random, is 200 silver. You can also get 3 for 500 silver and 5 for 800. As far as real money goes, it's about $5 for 500 silver, $10 for 1,100 silver, $20 for 2,300 silver, and $50 for 5,800 silver.
And that's a lot of silver, but basically what that comes out to is $5 for 3 bright engrams.
Yes.
Now, prior to this, Bungie had talked about shaders in a slightly different light. Rather than highlighting them as being single use, they mostly talked about them from the angle of you can customize any item you want now, which awesome. But
yeah,
kind of left out the single use part.
Yeah. Just this afternoon, game director Luke Smith opened up about this controversy on Twitter, saying, shaders are earned through gameplay, leveling chests, engrams, vendors. We expect you will be flush with shaders as you continue to play. When you reach level 20, shaders will drop more often. Vendor rewards, destination play, and endgame activities. Shaders are now an ongoing reward for playing. Customization will inspire gameplay. Each planet has a unique armor and shader rewards. With D2, we want statements like, I want to run the raid, trials, or go back to Titan to get more of its shader, to be possible.
Yeah,
sure.
No one wants that. You're the only one who wants that,
You're the only one who wants that, Luke.
Now, we actually did reach out to the game's community manager, Deej, and Deej did tell us they're working on something and to stay tuned.
Good old Deej. We do have to give Bungie some credit here. While Luke's Twitter thread is more explanatory than anything, it does show that Bungie is at least hearing and acknowledging the community feedback, and Deej's response to us tells us that they're actively working on making changes based on player feedback. They've already quietly been making tweaks to the items that can be acquired via microtransaction bright engrams. They haven't removed them, but they've limited them.
And that's a good thing.
Now,
Now, this also isn't the first time cosmetic DLC has caused a ruckus in recent memory. Probably won't be the last either. A similar scenario went down in PUBG a few weeks back when players got all ragey about the introduction of paid loot crates with cosmetic clothes that didn't affect gameplay. Now, that one caused a big stir among the player base, with players accusing PlayerUnknown and Bluehole of lying and ruining the game.
And then it passed 10 million copies of top Switch and Steam, and it's totally fine.
And it's gonna sell millions of copies on Xbox too, and it's gonna have great water.
Yeah.
So, yeah, word of advice to game developers, players generally, yes, are okay with cosmetic microtransactions, but watch your back. If you used to give them those cosmetic things and then you take them away from players and then you put them behind a paywall.
So that now makes not one, but 2 microtransaction issues that have come to light in Destiny 2 within the first 24 hours of the game's launch. Fortunately for players, the first one seems to have been tweaked to be a bit more agreeable, and something's incoming for the other.
So, good news. Hey, it's progress. What do you guys think of the big shader gate going on with Destiny 2 right now?
Shader gate?
Yeah, do you think these players are overreacting to the changes in cosmetic items? After all, they don't affect gameplay, but they affect morale. Let us know in the comments.
For future updates on microtransaction controversies and all the Chatterwhite and Glowwho talk you need, remember to like this video and subscribe to the know. You know, like seriously, you do not fuck with Guardian fashion. Like, my shaders were my thing. They were my hoarded loot. I took my shaders seriously.
How will people know how stylish you are?
Exactly, you have to look pretty strutting through all those social spaces. People have to see how fancy you are themselves, where they made a bit of a startling discovery.